Hi there! Welcome to a new video. Every time you draw, you need to think about which shapes your picture is made of. Previously, we learned about how versatile the cube is. And today we are going to complement it with another very basic but useful shape. Possibly one of the most useful of all shapes. Really important for a huge number of objects and really important for drawing anatomy. The cylinder. When you look at most objects, you're going to find that the cylinder is involved in most of these shapes. So how do you draw a cylinder? To draw a cylinder, we're going to start drawing one oval. Remember to draw from your shoulder. Then I'm going to draw two vertical lines going down from here. Finally, down here, we're going to draw another oval, but in this case, this oval is going to be a little bit wider than this. This is a kind of thin oval. The one over here is going to be a little bit wider in this way, and they're going to end over here. Now that I have all the shapes for drawing my cylinder, I'm going to draw this part because this is the part that is in the back. Now we have one cylinder that is standing. If, for example, I draw one line over here, we'll understand that this can be a cylinder on a table. Something that is important to mention is that either this oval a little bit thinner than this one over here because of the perspective. If you're seeing this oval from here, you are going to notice how this part over here is going to be almost flat because it's almost at your eye level, but this part over here is lower, so you're going to be able to see much more from this shape. We also draw this shape complete down here, so we have the correct curve down here, because many times the ovals that people draw are either too flat or too round over here. Using the same idea, we can draw many other kind of cylinders. We can draw taller cylinders, narrow cylinders, we can draw very short cylinders to create different objects. So now I'm going to draw a shorter cylinder. To start with my oval down here, two straight lines going down, two vertical lines, and then a wider oval down here. I'm going to erase the line that I don't need. Oh no, this is my shorter cylinder. If I want to draw a hollow cylinder, I'm simply going to draw another oval inside. This oval is going to be closer here, and it's going to be farther over here, and it's going to be even farther in the sides. The part inside here is going to be darker than it's going to be outside. The further down we go, the darker it is going to become. Not too dark over here. We can also draw a cylinder seeing from the bottom. So over here, we're going to make these lines vertical up, then draw the other wider oval up here, and pretty much that's it. We're going to erase the lines we don't need. And this is our cylinder seeing from the bottom. Same exact idea. In all cases, they're going to be shaded in the exact same way. If you notice, all three-dimensional shapes are only going to be completed when they have shade. The same that happened with the cube, that we had a lighter area, a medium area, and a darker area. You're going to see it here. You're going to see a lighter area on the top, and then you're going to see a medium area and a darker area all around the roundness of the cylinder. So one important concept to know when you have rounder shapes is the terminator line. First, we're going to imagine where the light's coming from. The light's coming from the left side, in this case, a little bit from the front, and of course from the top. In this case, the darker area is going to be over here. This is the terminator line. Terminator line is basically where there is no light touching the object anymore. If this is my round object and the light's coming from the left, we're going to see how the light is going to touch all of this area and all of this area over here. But then at some point, the light won't touch this round shape anymore. That is going to be something around here. But then also there's going to be some reflected light. The reflected light is going to touch very softly this surface over here. So pretty much this shape, this part over here, is going to be the darkest zone, the darkest area in our cylinder. That is what we call the terminator line. So over here, we're going to have the terminator line is going to be the darkest point in the cylinder, pretty much something like this. It doesn't need to be one exact line, it's going to be a colored area over here. And from here, it's going to start getting lighter and lighter up to this part. Everything over here is the light area. So it is going to become very light very quickly. We're going to color this way, just getting a gradient, and this gradient is going to become very light very quickly until it's going to reach this point over here. This is going to be the lightest area, but also over here the light is going to also start fading, so possibly one area at the end of this cylinder is going to also be a little bit dark. Depending on the material of the cylinder, possibly we're going to see a very light space over here, a highlight. We're going to use our finger if we want to soften the shading a little bit. This part over here is going to be also a shadow area. So this part over here is going to be dark, but not as dark as the terminator line. This area is receiving some reflected light. Just make sure that when you draw this shadow area over here, you're going to leave your terminator line as the darkest point. Also, don't forget about the top. The top is going to be the lightest part, but it's not going to be black in this case. I'm going to make sure that the side of my cylinder is darker than the top. The shadow for this cylinder is going to be very similar to what we did in the cube. We're going to have some lines going a little bit to the back, and this line over here could have a round end over here, but because this is going to get light very quickly, only the part that is closest to the cylinder is going to get darker. So over here, remember that we're going to draw the contact point. So over here, this is the darkest area, and then everything is going to become light very quickly. If this cylinder was actually next to that, possibly we're going to see a part of this shadow getting on this object. Please write in the comments if you knew about the terminator line and how you have used it in your pictures. Important to mention is that no matter how one cylinder is positioned, always the terminator line along with the shading is going to work in the same way. These three cylinders are going to receive the light from the same direction. It's going to be from the left, from the top, and a little bit from the front. It's going to be the same for all of them. Always for the cylinders, the shadow is going to go through the longer area. So if we see, for example, this cylinder, we're going to have a terminator line down here. The lightest area is going to be this point over here. For this second cylinder, the terminator line is going to go over here in the right, just going alongside the vertical line. And the darkest area also is going to go down here. From this point, we don't see the light area on the top. In this cylinder over here, things are going to be a little bit different. This side over here is not going to be the lightest area or the darkest area. It's possibly going to be something in between. And we're going to see the terminator line alongside this line. If you understand how to find the terminator line and the lightest or the darkest flat area for the cylinder, you're going to be able to draw them in many positions and shade them in many different positions. Now from here, everything is going to go the same way as we did in the first cylinder. Over here is going to be the dark area, not as dark as the terminator line. We're going to do the dark area for all three. Remember that over here there's going to be some reflected light touching all of this surface. And from here we're going to go light very quickly to the other side. It's pretty much always the same process. If you wonder what kind of pencil I'm using, this is a 6B. It's not great for the light areas, but it's amazing for the darker areas. Now I'm going to use my very old stump to soften all of the pencil. The terminator line is also called the core shadow, but I think it's cooler to call it terminator line. I'm going to use my moldable eraser to erase a highlight in this top area, in the left area and in the top left area. Remember that not all cylinders are going to have highlights, but they're going to have lighter areas. Using cylinders, you can create a lot of different structures. In this case, I'm going to use cylinders and cubes. I'm not drawing any specific picture over here, I'm just putting some cylinders and cubes together. Remember, in this case for the cube, they're always going to keep these two angles over here, because we're going to continue drawing isometric cubes. Later we will learn more about how to use cubes in perspective. So I'm going to draw another cylinder right here, from this area, and going this line. In this case, the isometry also is going to affect the cubes. Every cube going vertical is going to use vertical lines. Every cube going to the right is going to use this line. Every cylinder going to the left is going to use these lines. To keep a consistent light, we're going to have a light coming from the left, a little bit from the front and from the top. So we're going to start shading the cube first because it's the easiest shade. So we have the lightest part up here, a mid-tone over here on the left side of the cube, and the darkest area in the right side of the cube. Something important to keep in mind is that the flat areas in the cylinder refer to the value in the cube. So this light area is this light area over here. This medium tone is this medium tone over here. And this dark tone is the same as over here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to find the terminator line. So the terminator line down here, remember that it's coming from the top, so the bottom is going to be darker than the bottom side of this one. And because the light is coming from the left, if over here the right area is going to have the terminator line or the core shadow. I prefer to call it the terminator line. You can use the same process with paint, you can use it with color pencils, you can use it with any other material. Now, light areas over here, so we're going from this color, from this tone, from very light on the top. But this top part over here is going to refer to this color over here. Everything from here to here is just a transition from the dark to this tone. Then over here is the same. So we're going from dark to this tone up here. And over here in this side, we're going to make sure that everything facing over here in the left side of the cylinder is going to refer to this mid-tone in the cube. Remember, the cube is the most basic shape, so everything is going to refer at some point to how the cube is shaped and how the cube is shaded. So we'll go from the darker area very quickly to this value over here. This is basically how our shape is going to be shaded. Now we're going to include some shadows. For today's demonstration, I'm going to draw possibly the shape that represents the best the use of cubes and cylinders. And that shape is the human hand. Whenever I start drawing, I'm going to use basically cubes and simple lines and simple shapes to create the pose for the hand. Then other cubes are going to be the rest of the fingers. The base for the fingers is going to be something around here. Remember that all fingers are going to be a little bit separate from each other. Every part of the finger is going to be a little cylinder. Of course, it's not going to be completely cylindrical. The top part is flatter and the bottom part is rounder. It's going to be a little bit rounder down here and flatter up here. Especially the base here is going to be much rounder than this part. Now also the forearm is going to be another kind of cylinder with many things around there. Now that I have my basic shape over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade every shape like the simple shape they are. Cylinders as cylinders, cubes as cubes. Again, as in the other examples, the light is coming from the top left, just to keep a consistent shading. Just think about every cylinder, about every part of the finger as one independent cylinder. Okay, now you know that next thing we're going to do is to get the darker areas. So all other areas are going to become lighter as they go up or as they go to the light. If you squint pretty hard, we soften them, we're going to see how it's going to become looking like something. If we start drawing some more actual lines for this hand, it's going to start looking like one actual hand.
The main goal of this channel is to help you realize that drawing is very simple, but you just need to know what to look for and what to look at. It's to help you open your eyes to things you didn't know you know. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, share this video so that more people start learning about these fundamental ideas. So they understand that drawing, that art can be an important part of their lives. It is always better to change the world through art than through words. Remember, you're very special here. You're the reason for making this video. So, see you in my next video. Adios.